Moving on to Tottenham, Pete, with other managerial decisions to be made. It seemed like Andoni Areola was probably the favorite to land the Tottenham job, but Bournemouth have had a tough spell over the past few weeks or month or so. Could we see Tottenham actually shift their focus towards Thomas Frank as their next manager? Brentford are in some good form as well.
Yeah, Areola, I'm sure, was one of the names that probably figured highly on Tottenham's wanted list if they did decide to get rid of Ange Postecoglou. But it does seem that Bournemouth are doing everything they can to keep hold of Areola. There's been talks ongoing about a new contract to try and keep him at the club. His contract runs until the summer of 2026 right now, but Bournemouth are ready to offer him a lucrative new contract to extend his stay down in the south coast, and all indications are that those discussions have been positive and that the club are pretty confident that he will sign a new contract. So that's a huge blow to Tottenham and any other interested clubs in Areola. So Thomas Frank, for me, I think he'd be a good fit for Tottenham. Very impressed with Frank. I think he's a proven Premier League manager now. He's done a very good job at Brentford, under sort of working under a smaller budget than most of his Premier League rivals. He's always kept them away from relegation trouble, and he's a very innovative manager as well. You love some of the way he does his set pieces and everything else, and the way he sets his team up. I think he probably does deserve a crack at one of the big boys in the Premier League, and if that's Spurs, I think it could be a really good fit as well. He's got a buyout in his contract as well at Brentford, which means Tottenham could match that, and then they could have talks with him to try and persuade him to make the move across from Brentford to North London. I think right now, probably for Tottenham, if they are to get rid of Postecoglou, they probably want to look at somebody who's Premier League proven, and that would give Frank a real chance of maybe getting that job, especially if Areola is going to sign a new contract at Bournemouth, and then we don't know what's going to happen with Marco Silva at Fulham as well. I think he's got a huge buyout clause in his contract there as well. But for me, Thomas Frank, I've really liked the job that he's done at Brentford, but maybe the time is right for him to make that next step up, and I think Spurs could be a really good fit. I think it could be a good fit for all parties. I think Frank deserves that chance, and I think for Spurs, I think they'll be getting a very good manager as well if they did decide to go for him.
And Paul, we spoke about Matthias Tell when that loan deal was agreed, thinking that he probably could become a permanent transfer this summer, but now that's looking increasingly unlikely. What have you thought of his performances and his fit for this Tottenham squad?
Never thought he'd become a permanent transfer. Smelt a rat straight away when you look at a young quality player, the reputation that he's got. One, why do Bayern Munich want to let him go? Two, why does he want to join Tottenham when they were 14th in the Premier League? And why was nobody else taking him? There was an issue. There must have been an issue there somewhere. For a quality young player like that, why he's not playing at his parent club, and he initially turned Tottenham down, so there can't have been a lot of other offers for him. He's come in. Listen, to be fair to him, he's not played in. Well, where is he now? He's probably better off playing off the wide, isn't he, rather than down the middle. He's played down the middle, but he's played in a side that is struggling. He's played in a poor Tottenham side. You talk there about Thomas Frank coming in, and maybe Areola coming in. Whoever comes in next season for Tottenham, it's a great time to come in, because the season has been an absolute disaster. If they don't win the Europa League, which they've got a tough ask against Eintracht Frankfurt away, you look at where Tottenham are, 15th in the Premier League, 17 defeats this season. Whoever takes over Tottenham next year is going to improve them. With Thomas Frank, with Areola, whoever it is, Premier League proven managers with experience, get the team facing the right way and win a few games and be solid defensively, you're going to improve the team. So that's going to be. It's not an easy job for somebody, but it'll be an appealing job for somebody. Tottenham Hotspur on its own, as a football club, with everything that it offers, the stadium, the training ground, the stuff that we talk about all the time, and the size of the club itself is an appeal. But to have the appeal to then go, well, I'm only going to make this massive club a lot better than it was last year. So there is a draw there. There is an appeal for the managers. But players like Matthias Tell, that was never a right fit in January for me. He's not pulled up any trees since he's come in, and there's absolutely no surprise that he's going back to his parent club.
And Pete, could Kingsley Coman potentially be a transfer with Matthias Tell going back to Bayern Munich? Because there's been a lot of rumors that Coman will leave this coming summer.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that Coman could leave Bayern Munich. He's not been a regular under Vincent Kompany this season, coming to the end of his contract as well. So I think Bayern are probably expecting him to leave, and I think Coman himself probably wants to leave at this stage of his career to be playing regularly. It did seem Arsenal were probably the more likelier landing spot than Tottenham. We know that Arsenal are in the market for a wide attacker for next season, so I'd probably say Arsenal would be favourites ahead of Tottenham if it did come down to that one. But yeah, he's a top player. Played for France. He's played for Bayern Munich at the highest level as well. I think he would be a very good signing for Spurs if they're able to land him. But I just think there'll be a lot of competition for Kingsley Coman in the summer. I think there'll be a lot of clubs in the Saudi Pro League also looking at Coman as well, who we remember scored the winning goal in the Champions League final not too long ago as well. So he's a top player. I think he just needs to be playing regularly right now at this stage of his career. So I think it'd be hard for Tottenham probably to win the race for his services if he does, as we expect, to end up leaving Bayern Munich this summer. I do think there's a real possibility that he could end up making that move to the Saudi Pro League if he decides to leave Europe after a successful career up to now.
Unless Tottenham win this Europa League, forget about players like Kingsley Coman, forget about talking about quality players like that. Unless they win the Europa League and they get Champions League football next season, those players, not a chance. The Europa League hinges so much for Tottenham and Manchester United as well. Let's not forget they play tonight as well. Both Manchester United and Tottenham have to win that competition to have any kind of trajectory in the transfer market for next season. We look at Manchester United every week. We talk about what the state of the club off the field, the way that the manager is, the performances, the results, etc. You're talking about a club, Manchester United, who has sat in the Premier League. Going to bring it up now. Where are they now? Currently, live table. Manchester United 14th, Tottenham 15th in the Premier League. Tottenham having 17 defeats this season. And you're talking about players like Kingsley Coman coming to either Manchester United, Tottenham. Forget it. Unless they're in the Champions League and they win that Europa League, the Europa League is going to be key to their transfer dealings. Yes, the huge clubs, both of them massive clubs, but who have massively underachieved this season. And without the opportunity to play any kind of European football, you're not telling me that Kingsley Coman's going to go and play for Tottenham with a new manager and they finished 14th last year and didn't win a trophy. The appeal is just not there for any clubs, but for any players, sorry. That's how massively important this Europa League is. I still don't think winning the Europa League saves Ange's job, because of the turbulent season that they've had and the way that supporters have become so disconnected with him and the club now. Listen, winning a trophy at Tottenham would be incredible after so long, but I think the way that the team's played this season, the results that they've had this season, have been so poor. As I say, I can't see even a Europa League victory saving his job. I think they've got to use the time between now and the end of the season to recruit wisely. But as far as attracting players, you're not getting those top players unless you're offering European football or matching the Saudi Pro League money. And at the moment, neither Manchester United or Tottenham can do that.
And Paul, as you mentioned, the Europa League being so huge, will it also play a big role in whether Romero and potentially Mickey Van de Ven want to force their way out of Tottenham this summer if there's no European football for them?
Well, force their way out, but also if there's clubs that are in Europe and in the Champions League that are able to pay a big transfer fee for them. Because the new manager is going to come in to Tottenham next season if they aren't in Europe, if they haven't won the Europa League, and a new manager is going to have new ideas. So to restructure a squad aside, I'd look at that as a new manager coming in. I'd look at that and go Romero, Van de Ven. Yes, they would be my first choice centre-half partnership. How often have I had those at my disposal this year if I was the manager of Tottenham? Romero spent half the season injured. Van de Ven's done his hamstring twice. You get a big offer in for one of those two, you think, okay, maybe I can use that in other areas. I can buy a top quality younger centre half, and also I can use the money to strengthen my squad elsewhere. Romero, I think he's had a poor season. I like him. I think he's a top class player, but I think he's suffered this season through injury, lack of form. Listen, everyone's suffered from lack of form at Tottenham, but if I'm a new manager coming in there and somebody offers me a big whack for a Cristian Romero, I'm taking it and I'm using it to buy another centre half and strengthen the squad elsewhere. I wouldn't be too concerned if anybody left this summer, in all honesty.
I think it's more likely Romero could leave this summer. He's under contract until 2027. There's been a lot of strong links with Atletico Madrid as well, with Diego Simeone very keen to link up with his fellow Argentine as well. Like you said, Paul, I think if a big offer was to come in for him, Spurs would have to accept it and maybe use it to rebuild the squad. Probably unthinkable when you think about it, maybe 12 months ago, that Spurs would be willing to let Romero go, but I think just how far they've dropped this season, potentially a new manager in there, I think if you were going to lose either Romero or Van de Ven, you'd probably have to go with the Argentine, because Van de Ven's still only 23 and he's under a long-term contract until 2029. You could maybe build your defence around Van de Ven if he can stay fit. And
Pete, maybe Renato Vega as a potential replacement for one of these centre backs come this summer for Tottenham?
They're not going to get Chelsea. They're not going to be able to pay that amount of money.
Yeah, I don't. Well, we know, Paul, we've spoke plenty of times before that Chelsea and Spurs don't do a lot of business between each other either. So this one's got a lot of question marks hanging over it. Look, Vega's had a good half season out on loan at Juventus, and he played quite a few games for Chelsea in the first half of the season under Enzo Maresca. I think he made 18 appearances, although most of them came in the Conference League games. But yeah, obviously Chelsea could maybe make a quick profit on Vega right now. They signed him from Basel last summer for around £12 million. Supposedly they're looking around 30 million to sell him this summer. So obviously it could be a quick flip for Chelsea to sell Vega in the upcoming summer transfer window. He's a versatile player as well. Can play centre back, can play left back, can also play defensive midfield as well. So I can see why maybe he could be attractive for Tottenham due to all those issues they've had in defence this season due to injuries and lack of form. But I just don't see Spurs spending that type of money on Renato Vega, and as we've said, these two clubs don't normally do business between each other, so I think this one might be a red herring. I don't think Spurs could be possibly making a deal for Renato Vega.